This is John for the Everyday Fan Sports. Today, I have the pleasure of being on the beat with one of the premier wrestling writers. I was going to say sports writers. I could call you both. Mike Pankow. How are you, Mike?
John, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us here. As the guru of Windy City Slam, you are one of the preeminent sports wrestling guys at least in the Midwest. So I wanted to throw some wrestling talk at you and see what your thoughts were on a few topics.
Absolutely. Go ahead and shoot.
All right, 2023. Who do you see from the local area, relative local area on the independent scene? Who do you think was kind of the most improved or the best? And who do you think is kind of an up and comer that people should look for?
I'll give you a few names for some of the best in the area in the Chicagoland and in the Midwest. Storm Grayson's right at the top of that list. He's the freelance world champion. The last 2 to 2.5 years, he's been on fire. He was a guy that was really green the first 3 or 4 years of his career, kind of learning the ropes and everything like that. Now he's just so good in the ring. He's had diverse competition. He's improved so much on the microphone. This is a guy I expect within the next year or two to get signed by a WWE or AEW. He's done a ton of extra work for both of those promotions as well. And I'm also want to mention Conan Lycan. He's the CSW champion right now. We also see him a lot in AAW Pro. He's kind of moving up the ranks. He's originally an East Coast guy, I believe somewhere in New York, but he trained at Black and Brave in Iowa, and he frequents a lot of the Chicagoland and Midwest promotions as well. And I'd be remiss if I don't mention Missa Kate, who is the current second wrestling champion. You could also see her in the NWA, a former NWA women's tag team champion. She's just so versatile in the ring. And you could also see her in CSW as well. And I want to mention GPA and Laney Luck separately and together. They're great. They just got married last year. Cute couple, but inside the ring, they're two of the most dastardly heels you'll ever find. GPA is so technical. He knows exactly what he's doing in there. He tells great stories in the ring. Psychology is top notch. Laney Luck kind of infuses wrestling style with lucha. She's really good as well. And they are together the freelance wrestling tag team champions. And Vic Capri, man, that guy just turned 50 years old. He can still put on a show in that ring despite everything that's happened to his body over the last 30 years. He's the SSW Unified Champion up in Kenosha. He's the Rockford Damage Inc. champion. He just wrapped up a long, lengthy run in CSW, and he's training wrestlers now as well, including someone you need to take a look at if you haven't seen her, and you might have seen her already on the scene, John. Her name is Shelly the Bombshell Benson.
Yep.
She currently holds 4 different promotions titles, and she's only been doing this for about 1.5 to 2 years. And under Vic Capri, she has become an amazing performer. Definitely an up-and-comer you want to look out for is Shelly Benson. And I also want to mention Davey Bang and August Matthews, primarily in freelance wrestling, a longtime former tag team champion there. And they're also just an excellent tag team. They're getting around a little bit in the Midwest. They even peaked up in Canada a little bit. And now they're exploring some singles careers as well. I mean, 2 very young guys still in this business, but 2 very entertaining and fan favorites as well. And some of my other personal favorites, I'm going to throw out just a few names.
Sure.
Appreciate Axel Rico, Trevor Outlaw, who I think is one of the best heels in the Midwest. Great guy outside the ring, but on the mic, he's top notch. Jordan Cross, who sells like Ricky Morton. He's got this great underdog babyface thing going. Look out for some great things for Jordan the next couple of years. Gunner Brave, who primarily in the area works Rocket Pro Wrestling, and I think by the end of their season, he will be their champion. Excellent wrestler, Joliet guy, just like I am now as well. And then there's Mateo Valentine, one of the top LGBTQ wrestlers in the Midwest. Excellent wrestler, great person too, just bubbly, and he really likes the WWE Divas era, and he incorporates movesets from those divas in his matches. Really, really cool. It's your boy, Mason Perks from POW Entertainment. He put on some great show-stealing matches in 2023. I expect a lot more from him. And who's to say you can't say something about Robert Ego Anthony? That guy is amazing. and he's doing some of his best work. And we'll talk a little bit more about him later on, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yes.
But he's terrific. And then I also want to mention Sierra, who's the current AAW Women's Champion and co-holder of the CSW Tag Team Championships with her boyfriend, Joey Jet Avalon. She's based in Milwaukee, but does a lot of work in Chicago. She's just really terrific. She's been in the business about 8 to 9 years. In the last couple of years, she's done some great things. And you talk about rising stars. Let me go ahead and talk about a few people you need to keep your eye on in 2024. Coda Hernandez, former freelance underground tag team champion with Darius Luttrell, is now branching out to singles, and he's gotten some great victories in freelance wrestling over the last few months. And this is a guy I expect to be holding gold by the end of 2024. Look out, Darren Corbin. He's coming for your freelance legacy championship. And then there's sharpshooter James Creed, who's also done some great things already, but he's on the verge of winning the Southland Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. As we're recording, that match is this weekend against Aaron Xavier. I expect him to win and go over and win that title. He's already been ARW champion. He's already training wrestlers, even though he's only been in the business like 4 or 5 years. He's an amazing talent, and you got to keep an eye on him. And a guy who's only been working for about a year, Rafael Quintero at CSW, as well as a few other promotions like POW and Northland Pro Wrestling. Really good kid, really great up-and-comer, high flyer, exciting style as well. Aaron Stone is another guy I really like. He's been in the business for like 7 to 8 years. He's the current Rocket Pro champion, and the Dreambreaker definitely has the skills, and you're going to hear a lot more from him as well. And like I said earlier, Shelly, the Bombshell Benson, is someone you need to keep your eye on as well.
Those are all excellent choices. I'm very familiar. I'm sorry, I have to plug in my charger here. Very familiar with all of them. And the thing I like about your list is it's so varied in terms of you have a lot of different federations, companies, and so many different styles. And if you could just talk a little bit, I'm not looking for you to necessarily pick your favorite, but is this not one of the best times for independent wrestling in the Chicago area?
I mean, it really is. I mean, look at the diversity of talent you've got and all the different promotions. I mean, a lot of fun shows. There are shows like CSW and POW who are really, really good with the long-term storytelling and all that. And they bring you good action. They bring you great guest stars. Freelance wrestling just brings you amazing matches. Warrior wrestling, same thing. Some of the top talent, not only in the Midwest, but from around the world, go to Warrior Wrestling. Second Wrestling is a promotion that I really love too. 2-hour shows, 6-7 matches. Rabbi Fine puts together some incredible lineups. Great talent from the Chicagoland area, the Midwest, and even some legends that come in and do signings for him as well. So you got a lot of great wrestling talent. And Rocket Pro Wrestling is a company that's right by my house, and they do some great things as well. So thumbs up to Bill Shelley, Kevin Palmer, and the crew over at Rocket Pro.
Yeah, I've just never seen the level of competition and the fact that a lot of them are working together. It's not like, I mean, they're rivals, of course, because they're all different companies, but there seems to be they just want to put on the best show. They're not concerned about the other competition because they're just going to put on their great show and it's all going to fall where it does.
Yeah,
I think it's a great time to be a fan here.
Yeah, and let me mention AAW Pro as well. They're celebrating 20 years in Chicago. Always put some great stuff out there. And Dreamwave out in LaSalle as well. Another great company, a lot of talent. Jay Repsol's doing an excellent job over there too.
Agreed. Well, you brought him up. We were going to discuss him later. Let's talk about him now. One of my personal favorites for a long time. Everybody knows him in the Chicago area. Robert the Ego Anthony. I think he's probably the overall the best talent out there in terms of mic, ability, knowledge. He could work as a heel. He could work as a face. He's starting his own company. He's got one show coming up in March. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that?
Let me talk a little bit about Ego first before we get into the show in March. He's just an accomplished wrestler, a great mind for the business. He turned 40 not that long ago, and you wouldn't know it because he's doing some of the best work of his career inside the ring and out. He's actually been running the baseball shows at the Windy City Thunderbolts games for the last few years. That's him kind of doing the creative there and making the matches and all that. And he was also creative the last couple of years for that Berwyn Championship Wrestling, which unfortunately shut down after last year. He used a mixture of veteran guys like Vic Capri, the Brothers of Funstruction, Shogun Chris Logan with young talents like Bangin Matthews and Trevor Outlaw, Cole Hernandez, even some younger guys who hadn't been getting a lot of opportunities. And he does a terrific job just making a show work. And now that he's got Ego Pro, he's done some special shows with Navarro Farms as well for the special needs adult community and local youth who may not, be able to do things on their own, but they'd have special needs. And they've had some great wrestling shows for them as well, incorporating some of the adults and the youth in those shows. I believe they had a show at Olympia Fields about a week or so ago where a young kid actually won a championship from Ego in the ring. So a real
cool.
big heart in addition to the brains and the brawn from Robert Ego Anthony. And this show coming up March the 16th at the Forge in Joliet, the famous concert venue, and already booked for that show. We have, as I was mentioning before, they're breaking off a little bit into singles competition. It's Davey Bang versus August Matthews, which should be an absolutely amazing match. Plus, we're going to see Ego himself, Missa Kate, Sierra, the Brothers of Funstruction, Chico Suave, another one of my personal favorites, Trevor Outlaw, Coder Hernandez, the Boston Beantown Brawler, Benny Vargas, and Alfonso Gonzalez. So this show in Joliet is going to light it up, and I hear tickets are going very fast. So check out Ego S1313 on X to see what the information is for the tickets and about this show coming up on March 16th in Joliet. So I'm expecting a blockbuster show from Ego.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to be in town for it. I'm really bummed out because, how much more can I praise Ego? I love the guy. My only complaint is that apparently it's a one show a year. I'm hoping that he ends up doing more.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got the talent. He's got the knowledge. He certainly has the contacts. Hopefully hopefully it starts as one and then builds, because I think he could really do a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm. And with the experience that he's gotten doing the baseball shows and a little bit of the work at Berwyn Championship Wrestling as a creative mind, he's going to do a great job with that. Absolutely.
No doubt. No doubt. So let's go on the national scene for a little bit. AEW has been around for a few years. People, it seems to divide people. They either love it, they hate it. I think the more companies out there, the better the competition. But what are your thoughts on where AEW is right now?
It's a fun alternative to WWE, and the shows are so much fun to watch. I really enjoy checking them out. I watch Dynamite on a regular basis, and I try to watch as much of Collision and Rampage as I can. It's just so much wrestling product out there. It's hard to consume it all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, 30 hours a week.
Yes, there really is. But the WWE and NXT, which I really love NXT too, but we're talking AEW here, so we'll go back to that. And I think sometimes for Tony Khan, there's just too much talent for Tony Khan, and he doesn't know what to do with it. It's like a kid that gets all these toys. He plays with the new ones for a while, and then he just forgets about some of them as some more new toys come in. Don't get me wrong. It's a great talent roster, and he's got a lot of people to use. Like Adam Copeland is now part of AEW, the former Edge, and I think that's really cool to see. I just watched him and Minoru Suzuki wrestle, and that was an amazing match. And a couple of things that I really, really like about AEW. I do like the push of Swerve Strickland. He's a guy I thought could have done big things in WWE, but he kind of got the cord pulled out of him when Vince was releasing a bunch of people a couple of years ago. And Tony's done a great job with him. And Prince Nana is as over as he's ever been doing that Swerve dance. I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, Swerve Strickland doing some great things. And I really enjoy seeing Sky Blue get regular TV time. Now, Sky is one of our Chicagoland favorites, came through CSW, still actually goes to work there every so often. And she's done some other shows as well. She's done SSW up in Kenosha. She's done a handful of other Warrior Wrestling, where she's the current women's champion. Hopefully we'll see them get back to more of a regular schedule in 2024. Yeah. And Samoa Joe as AEW champion is a great choice. I love that. I mean, I love MJF as the champ, but Samoa Joe is a guy that really deserves his flowers, and he's finally getting them in AEW. And in my opinion, MJF should have never won away from being a heel. I mean,
thank you.
Best heel in the business. Great promos, putting everybody down. Funniest thing. I mean, I remember taking pictures of him at StarCast a few years ago, interacting with fans, making fun of the fans. He's just sitting there eating a yogurt parfait, half ignoring the fan trying to take a picture with him, which is
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
personality.
Same thing as when I saw him at Comic-Con. Same thing.
Yeah, he is so funny.
And the thing is, I wouldn't have minded him turning face. I just don't like the way that they kind of like not to copy Steve Austin, but Steve Austin really didn't change when he went from heel to face.
Yes.
MJF, they made this goofy face and it didn't work. It doesn't work. I want him, love him or not, he was good as the heel guy, like you said, that, ignored everybody.
Yeah. I just hope WWE doesn't turn Dominic Mysterio anytime soon, because the heat that he gets is amazing.
Yeah, he's really surprised a lot of people with his growth in the last year and a half, 2 years.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing. Before I let you go, let's talk a little bit about a Chicago legend who retired from in-ring action. So I want to get a little retrospect view on his career, but I also want to know, do you think this is really the end of the in-ring career of Psychotic Jimmy Blaze?
It's professional wrestling. You just never know. Ric Flair wrestled for a couple of years ago, for crying out loud. I mean, never say never. Terry Funk wrestled into his 60s or 70s.
At least, yeah.
You got Mike Jackson wrestling in his 70s. You got George South. You got the Rock and Roll Express still doing stuff here and there. It's crazy. But I love Jimmy. A great wrestler and even a better person. Always so warm and welcoming to me when I wanted to cover POWW Entertainment shows. And the guy goes back like 30 some odd years to Windy City Wrestling. And that's the independent that I grew up on in the Chicago area.
Fireman Jim.
Yep. Fireman Jim. Yep. Psychotic Jimmy Blaze. Yep. He's trained so many great younger wrestlers. And some examples even today. Current POWW Entertainment champion Kazile, who was a recent guest on Windy City Slam podcast, by the way. He's the son of the great Trevor Blanchard. Mason Perks is another guy that Jimmy trained recently. And here's a familiar name for you. Tony D'Angelo, a.k.a. Joey Areola. Jimmy Blaze's impact on this business, especially in the Chicagoland area, will be felt for a very, very long time. Great guy. And I'm hoping to get out to a POWW show again very soon.
Same. Let's be real clear, in case I wasn't. He's only retiring from in-ring action, theoretically.
Yes.
He's still running POWW. He's still training. He's still doing everything. You'll still see Jimmy Blaze all over the scene. He's not going anywhere. He's just, again, theoretically, retired from in-ring action. I think, eventually I'm not saying he'll come back to full-time, but there'll be a special occasion where he'll have to fight for the company or he'll have to stand up for someone, and he'll get a well-deserved round of applause from everybody.
Absolutely.
Before I let you go, Mike, I've picked your brain enough. I don't want to, tire you out for the weekend. You got a big weekend coming up. Tell everybody all about Windy City Slam, where they can find you.
Yeah, WindyCitySlam.com is the place where I cover events. There's photo galleries. There's a calendar of local events in the Chicagoland area, Northwest Indiana, Southeast Wisconsin. And there's the Windy City Slam podcast. That drops every Tuesday, every week. I have guests on every show. And just some of the guests I've had on recently. I'm going to rattle off some names for you. You had Vic Capri, you had Trevor Outlaw, Mike Anthony, a Windy City legend, Darren Corbin, who people may have recognized on Fox's The Floor, Kazile, Eric Schultz, Alfonso Gonzalez, Shaq Jordan, Nick Hedford, and Chris Hedford, Mike Hartenbauer, Jordan Cross, Joy Mayberry, and Quinn Whittick. And also in the past, some of the bigger names I've had on the show, Dirty Dango, a.k.a. Fandango, Maven, who's really become big on YouTube in the last year since we had him on the show, EC3, the NWA World's Champion, Eric Young, the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, Billy Starks, Matt Raywalt, James Ellsworth, and Zach Gowen. And you can catch Windy City Slam podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify. Plus, you can check it out on WindyCitySlam.com. And also, I have the Windy City Slam YouTube channel, which I've converted from my personal channel to Windy City Slam. And there's interviews on there with Lisa Marie Varon, Mick Foley, Tommy Dreamer, Jordan Grace, Moose, Jessica Havoc, Josh Matthews, Missa Kate, Katie Forbes, which is the most downloaded interview I've ever had on any platform.
Wow.
It was a 2-minute off-the-cuff deal from Wizard World. Also had Frankie Kazarian, Sam Adonis, Pat Monix, Dave LaGreca from Busted Open, Rob Schamberger, the famous artist, and Stephen Merchant from Fighting with My Family.
It's a virtual who's who of wrestling, my friend.
Yes.
No, and you know I'm not just blowing smoke up. I am a regular viewer. I'm a regular follower of Windy City Slam. I encourage everyone to check it out. Go back and really look at some of the old interviews that you're, like you said, you came up like Kazile, great interview. You've come up with a lot of new guys, but people should go back and see all the cool ones you've done in the past. And you could just do a binge, or you could pick one a day or whatever. They're all very good, and you've got so many great names. You are so knowledgeable on the scene. That's why I want to pick your brain every once in a while. I appreciate you coming on, my friend.
Johngy, thank you very much. And credit to you for filming those Mick Foley and Tommy Dreamer from years ago. We were a great help in that.
Dude, I was thrilled to do it, man. I was thrilled to just, I could say I was this, the little piece of Windy City Slam, my friend.
I appreciate it. And before I let you go, though, the next show that I'm looking at to cover, I'm not sure if there's any shows before March 8th that I'll be at yet. Some car issues that I've had the last few months have kind of limited some of the shows I've been to, but I am targeting SSW's Horsepower 2 at Mahone Middle School in Kenosha, Wisconsin on Friday night, March the 8th. It's a fundraising event for the school's year-end carnival and already announced for that show. And this is a blockbuster lineup.
Yeah.
Enzo, former Enzo Amore, Kevin Thorne, former WWE superstar, Jordan Cross, Ryan Cross, SSW Unified Champion Vic Capri, Marche Rocket, SNS Women's Champion Brooke Tanner, Salem Crane, CBS 58 Milwaukee's Mike Kirchhoff, Dr. Jeff Luxon, Shelly the Bombshell Benson, Sophia Rose, Big Al Alice Crowley, Mike Vice Grip Gonzalez, Jay De Niro, Dave Rydell, TW3 Plus, a mystery guest from AEW who will be announced by SSW on February 1st. So if there's a show you've been clamoring to go to that you want to see some big stars at, this is the one you want to check out on March the 8th. SSW Horsepower 2, Mahone Middle School, Kenosha, Wisconsin.
SSW does put on great shows. I don't make it up there as much as I would like to. Again, there's so many shows around. It's hard to balance it and see them all. I like to kind of hit around and taste them all. SSW is a great showing, and especially that one. It's going to be for a great cause, great school, and obviously it's a packed lineup. So everyone should check out Windy City Slam. Check out this guy. Check him out on YouTube, and feel free to shoot him questions. And he is a virtual knowledge or wealth of knowledge, I should say, on the Chicago and Midwest wrestling scene. Mike, thank you very much for your time, buddy.
Thanks, John.